Hi, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by SMS Law, going through the legal secrets that will benefit you and your clients, as well as having a little bit of fun as we go. This podcast is designed to educate you on number one, complicated legal terms that we will explain in an easy to understand manner. Two, to understand why you do things from a legal perspective in your business. And three, to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Our mission is to help empower small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time that it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. This podcast is all about empowering you and your business with knowledge and tools to ensure that that doesn't happen to you or to your clients. Let's begin, shall we?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brisbane Professional Podcast. My name is Craig Mason from SMS Law, and I have with me, as always, hello, Jeremy from SMS Law.
Hello, Craig. It's good to be here. Lock that one up.
Yes. Hello, listeners and viewers. Today, we're following on from last show, which was about buying property, and that was residential property. Today, we want to touch on buying commercial or industrial property. So again, this could be part of your investment strategy to buy commercial property or industrial property. As per the previous show, there's certain things you need to consider before you do that and things that you need to take into account. So when thinking of buying a commercial or industrial property, Jeremy, and becoming an owner, what are the sorts of things that you should be considering?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is to think about, who's the tenant going to be and who's going to help you pay the mortgage. Because if you're buying a commercial industrial property, then usually you're buying it as an investment to be a landlord for someone else. So who is that tenant? Looking at the lease that they have in place, but also looking at that tenant and how robust they are as a business, and are they someone who you think is going to survive and not have any problems? Are there any personal guarantees in the lease? So it's really thinking about, are you prepared to be that landlord of a commercial premises and take the chance, because there is a higher return on a commercial or industrial property than, say, a residential property, but that's because there's more risk because you've got a business operating in there. So you need to consider that. You need to also, some of the stuff we talked about last week really applies here too, around what are the condition of the property, what are the surrounding buildings like, what's the conditions of any government approvals that are on that property as well. Like really looking at that property in a holistic sense to make sure that you get what you think you're getting when you buy the property. But really around this question around what to consider before becoming a commercial industrial property owner is really thinking, who is the tenant going to be, and are they a substantial business where I'm going to get a return, and how do I protect myself going forward? So I think that's probably the main distinction with a commercial industrial property. So Craig, do you want to talk about how to choose a location for the property?
Yeah, absolutely. So various things you need to consider for choosing a location. You might be that you're thinking long term that your business, if it grows, may move into the commercial property, for instance. So you might want to consider what's a good location for that. Is it in a growth area? What else is around there? What other businesses are there? Is it eventually going to be a residential area, for instance? So looking at the location, you kind of open to various places in Queensland, for instance, or Australia for commercial property. It's probably broader than residential property from that sense. But yeah, plenty of things to consider for the location. What's the you want an attractive area for tenants, obviously. So talk to real estate agents, see what the next up and coming location is, for instance. Is it an older property or a newer property? Those sorts of things. Particular areas will have more older properties than new ones, for instance, the developed areas. So plenty of things to have a think about before you sign up on the location. So if you found the location, you've put in those considerations that you mentioned, Jeremy, and then you're doing your numbers. What are the sorts of costs you need to be aware of when purchasing a commercial or industrial property?
Yeah, I think you went through in the last show. You really need to be aware of what's the overall cost of the purchase going to be. what is the stamp duty that is payable on the property? What are the insurance costs? What are the additional costs that you're going to have on the property? What are the legals going to be? What searches are you going to be required to do for the purchase, so that you can really make sure that you're getting what you're going to buy, and what you think you're buying, I should say. So those kind of costs, and then thinking about the ongoing costs as well of land tax and things like that. And the upkeep of the property. Really important to make sure that you understand what it is that you're going to be up for. And also, it's also important to have a look at with the commercial industrial property. Normally the tenant will pay some of those costs, especially the ongoing costs. So you want to think about what they are as well, so that you can cover off on those items and make sure that you're not buying something that's going to be a massive headache for you going forward. So Craig, the classic question that we always ask is, when should I seek legal advice on these things? So do you want to address that one?
Yeah, the classic answer is always seek legal advice. In terms of the timing, when it comes to buying property, it's before you sign a contract where it's now a binding agreement. You want to be seeking the legal advice about what needs to go in that contract, what conditions you should have in there, refinance and due diligence, what's happening with the lease, those sorts of things. You would seek all of that advice prior to signing. Same with the financial advice as well. So what entity is it going in? How that should be structured. You'd be seeking that again before you sign a contract. And if you do end up signing one before you've sought the advice, just make sure you've got some conditions in there that gives you some time to meet with those professionals and discuss it and potentially change it or whatever it might be. But we'd always be saying seek the legal advice before you sign a contract. If an agent does prepare a contract for you, then that's your opportunity to send it to your legal team and your finance team, just for them to have a look at it before you sign it. But it's a pretty big investment, so definitely spend the time getting the advice before you do it. So, alrighty, that is it. Sorry for today. Buying a commercial or industrial property. Jeremy, anything you want to throw in before we depart?
Other than just make sure that you're getting the advice on these things. You are, especially when you're buying commercial industrial property, and really when you're buying any property, you're making a very large cash investment. So spend the money to get the right advice. Don't just try and skimp out on the right advice thinking that you're buying a bargain, and make sure that you get the right advice so that you can make sure that you're getting what you pay for.
Excellent advice. If you like that advice and anything else that Jeremy or myself has said today, then why don't you jump on to wherever you got the podcast or downloaded it and go to the review section, and you might find a spot for some stars and select the 5 stars that you so desire and pop a little review in there so other people can see that you're listening and enjoying it, and then we can have more wonderful listeners. And while you're at it, like SMS Law on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, search us on LinkedIn. As always, we do release other information in between podcasts, so check that out. And if you've got any questions or want to engage with us, please ask some questions on those platforms or get in touch via email. Or topics for the show. If there's something that's pressing and you need it soon, then get in touch. So that's it. See you next time.
See you next time.